Hey, what's up everybody? My name's David Hanlon, aka the Laptop Legend, and today we're going to be talking about some of the ways that these fake gurus are utilizing psychological cognitive biases, specifically in the live webinar model, to convince you to buy overpriced courses and basically scam you out of your hard-earned money. There are some trustworthy people in the making money online space and education, but in general, most of these people are not out here to, benefit you at all. So hopefully by the end of this video, you guys will know exactly what to look for and exactly how you can avoid throwing your hard-earned money down the drain, and you can actually invest it into business models that are worth your time. So with that being said, let's dive right into it. The online education industry has gotten a really bad rep in the last couple of years, which is honestly pretty disappointing because it's one of the best ways that you can learn any subject. Think about it. You get to choose who your teacher is and make sure that there's someone you can trust. You only pay a price if it's something that you want to pay. You can refer back to these lectures years later if you're trying to go and revisit the subject, and in general it's just way more efficient than a lecture. The online education industry is honestly one that's good in general, but there's a specific niche, the make money online niche, where there's too many people who are trying to sell get rich quick schemes. To name a few of them, there's penny stocks, Forex, options, cryptocurrency, Amazon FBA, Shopify, eBay, real estate wholesaling, YouTube automation, and many other ones. It's definitely possible to make money from every single one of these, and I know this personally just because I've made a lot of money from e-commerce, but in general, people try to portray it as way easier than it actually is, and they try to diminish the amount of work that it takes to be successful in any one of those industries. There's probably legitimate people in every single space, but they get drowned out by those who are fake and who exaggerate their results, run ads on a ton of different platforms, and ultimately underestimate and diminish the amount of effort required to be successful. This relates back to the cognitive bias called showing some affection to that like button. It had a really rough day. I heard its dog just died, and honestly, any support you could provide it would be very much appreciated. Also, remember to subscribe and comment below what types of videos you want me to do next. I have a lot of valuable information within the e-commerce entrepreneurship space, and I'd love to share it with you guys. This cognitive bias is actually called the Dunning-Kruger effect, and I'm going to put a link below so you can read up on it a little more because it's honestly fascinating. But essentially what it boils down to is the fact that those who are extremely unskilled in a particular area are very likely to overestimate their ability to succeed in that given area. The relationship looks something like this graph, and I'll come back to this in a second. But for now, let's talk about how this relates to the webinar sales model and exactly how people are using psychological flaws in human reasoning to scam you. For those of you who don't know how this works, you've probably already seen these ads on YouTube, but let me explain the exact formula to you. You get a YouTube ad before a video related to business, and what they do is they try to entice you or reel you in with a new interesting business model that you've never heard of, but all you know is that it sounds really cool. That puts you at the beginning of the graph, right up in here. I don't really have any fingers to point with, but right in here, where you're starting to gain confidence, but you haven't gained any competence at all yet. They explain just enough in the ad to pique your interest, but then talk about how they don't have enough time to explain everything, so they need you to come to this free live webinar where they're going to explain everything related to the business model, everything you possibly need to know to be successful. Hint, they're all pre-recorded. They show lots of social proof, usually fake, and they say that these people saw the exact same ad as you and all they did to achieve $20,000 a month was just attend this free live training, so you really should attend. If you decide to click on the link and actually go to the live webinar, it'll be starting within the next hour. And it doesn't matter what time of day you click on the link. It could be 3 in the morning and they're still supposedly giving you free live training at that hour of the night. Come on, man. If you sit through the entire webinar, normally they explain the majority of the business model, but it's such a surface level that there's zero chance you could actually go out there and replicate the business model for yourself and be successful with it. If you make it to the end of the webinar, then they're going to pitch you a course that's worth $10,000, which they get to this number by adding a ton of extra fake value. But instead of $10,000, they're going to be generous and only charge you $19.97 as long as you buy within this webinar, which makes sense, right? Well, this actually plays on the left digit effect, which basically is a psychological effect where you only see the first digit of a price and you tend to round down to that digit. So in this case, instead of $2,000, it's $19.97, and you see that one, and in your head, it's a lot lower than $2,000. Additionally, because they say that you only get this price while on the webinar, this adds a sense of urgency, so you're less likely to think about your decision and you're more likely to just purchase impulsively. Lastly, they show a lot of student results on the screen, which adds another psychological effect, which is called FOMO, or fear of missing out. You see all these people getting great results and making a ton of money, so you think to yourself, I don't want to be the person who misses out on this if everyone else is successful, so I might as well go ahead and buy this. They're really exploiting a ton of these psychological factors. This model sells to you right when you're at the peak of Mount Stupid, where your confidence is at an all-time high because you feel like you understand pretty much the entire business model, and all you need is the last little bit of help from that paid course to help you understand everything. You're honestly the most vulnerable right here at the peak of Mount Stupid, because this is when you're the most excited from seeing everyone else's results. You're the most confident because you just watched the entire training, as well as you have that course coming up that you're going to be able to refer back to, and you're honestly not thinking about all the effort as well as luck that it's probably going to take to be successful in this business model. The people who made it are never going to tell you that because that would cost them your sale, and honestly, they can't afford that. What makes this extra sketchy is the fact that even though it's pre-recorded, they go to every possible effort to make it seem like it's not. For example, when you're coming into the room, they have this, tendency to say, let's not start the webinar just yet. Let's wait for everyone to get in the room. They have this live count of the people who are in the room, and sometimes it says a couple hundred, when obviously this is fake. And then also, they have a chat box that you can type in, and a lot of times during the pre-recorded webinar, they tell you like, oh, type yes in the chat box if you think this business model could work for you. Oh, wow, I see a lot of yeses coming in. Like, no, you don't. This is pre-recorded. No one's typing when you are recording this. Stop lying. I'm pretty sure that they use this strategy so that you don't realize just how many people they're showing this pre-recorded webinar to, because if you did, you'd pretty soon figure out that they're making most of their money from selling the courses and not from actually using the business model that they claim to teach. Oh, is this still recording? Sorry, I was just trying to get a pump for the camera so I look good under that lighting. These ads are ubiquitous on YouTube because selling courses is about a 95% margin business, leaving tons of room for ad spend. In a typical business, you're going to have a lot of cost of goods sold. But in this case, if you're selling like a $2,000 course, you could spend $1,500 on YouTube ads before you got a single sale, and it could still be a 25 or 20% margin business, which is way higher than most of the businesses that you're going to see out there. Unfortunately, the highest converting funnels are also those that are the least legitimate. The reason for this is nobody wants to hear that they can make a profitable e-commerce business that makes a few hundred a day after spending months on losing money, frustrating hard work, lots of sleepless nights, and tons of, pent-up aggression and frustration wanting to punch your computer because you're not succeeding. No one wants to hear that. Can you imagine an ad like this? If you knew how to spend months grinding all day long, losing money, to probably fail and have nothing to show for it all, but maybe possibly have a tiny chance of sticking it through all the frustrations to make decent money, would it make sense to do it? Come to my free, definitely not pre-recorded training, which, by the way, I'm also showing to tens of thousands of other suckers to learn how to work your ass off and fail consistently. At the end, I'll pitch you an overpriced course with lots of information you could probably find online for free. Obviously, you would never see an ad like this, and this is, kind of an exaggeration. But in general, this is the truth of what you end up seeing, because anyone who's not legitimate and who exaggerates how easy it's going to be is the one who's going to have a higher converting sales funnel, which means they make more from running ads, which means they can bid higher on ads, which ultimately means they drive all the legitimate people out of the entire business model. And because of that, you never really see a ton of legitimate people running ads on YouTube, and most of the people who do it exaggerate their results. That's not to say that all online courses are scams. I think there's a place for online training in general, and I've honestly spent over 5 figures in the last couple of years, and it's made a big difference in my performance in a lot of areas. The main issue comes in when people underestimate or understate the amount of work that it's going to take to be successful and overstate the average results that people get from their training. The truth is, there's a lot of free information that's available on the internet that you don't have to pay for at all. If you did research for a couple weeks, you could probably find most of the information that's available in the courses that you're buying and spending a ton of money on. There's a few legitimate aspects of courses that are worth paying money for, and I think they come down to 3 factors. Number 1 is the organization of the course. That makes it easy to follow, so you know that you're doing it in the smartest steps possible, and in the way that makes the most sense. Number 2 is the fact that the information comes from someone you know and trust. You can actually rely on the information versus if you're just looking up random information on the internet, you might find it on a forum where some strangers are talking about, and you don't really know how trustworthy it is or whether or not it's been proven. And number 3 is the support that comes along with that information, where if you have any questions or there's something slightly different that arises when you're trying to do the business model, you can ask and get that back and forth feedback, which makes such a huge difference when you're trying to learn a skill for the first time. Especially in the money-making niche, there's a big opportunity cost to doing the research on your own, because if you have a business up and running that's making you a ton of money, You want to have it up and running as soon as possible because even a couple weeks could be a significant sum of money, which you're not going to have running if you have to spend that time doing research and then figuring it out on your own. That's the main reason that I still personally spend money on courses and mentorship, and I think that it's worth it as long as you trust the person and there's no big red flags like some of the things that I'm talking about in this video. You can see here that I spent $5,000 on a mentorship just to learn a new business model, and that was a few months ago. And it honestly was totally worth it, and I made more than that money back within the first couple of months. To sum it up with the world's most hackneyed phrase, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. There's a lot of legitimate online business models, but all of them take a lot of work and none of them are easy at all. So most of the time, your money is going to be better spent investing into the business model and getting those initial expenses out of the way than spending all that money on a $2,000 course that you bought from a fake live webinar. Now you might be wondering, well, David, if that's the case, then why do you sell courses? Honestly, that's a great question, Jimmy, and the answer is, I don't think there's anything wrong with selling a course as long as you're very clear about expectations from the start and you deliver on the value that's promised. You can never have too many streams of income, and I'm always trying to diversify, especially if I can help people. I always leave out these sketchy webinar sales tactics, even though I know for sure, because it's a fact that this could increase my sales probably tenfold or 100-fold. But I never resort to these sketchy tactics because I don't think it's genuine, and I always want to be straightforward and honest with everything that I'm doing. Stephan openly admits that he made over $500,000 from his courses alone in 2019. But it's never an issue just because he's so honest and straightforward, he's very open with people, and he's never sketchy about any of his sales tactics. And he always provides the value to people within his courses, so they're never, upset or feel like they've been overcharged. My best advice for you guys would be, before you go and buy anyone's course, make sure that you go and try to talk to them on Instagram or wherever it may be and see if they can actually respond to you and get back to you, because this is normally a good sign that they're going to be good teachers. I try to send voice messages to everyone, and if they need help, I try to answer their questions for free just so they know that I'm actually here to provide value. Also, look around and see if there's anyone who's had a bad experience with these people. You can look online, you can look at Baller Busters, their great Instagram account that exposes fake gurus, and just in general, look for red flags. If there's a bunch of people saying they got scammed or they were blocked after they paid a bunch of money, or they're just in general not providing the value, then you want to make sure you go with someone else, because again, your money is hard to earn and there's no point throwing it away. Also, look at how soon they created their course after getting into the business model. If they created a course 2 months after starting, chances are they never really made that much money from the business model itself, and they've made all their money from selling the course. Versus, if they've been doing it for years before they made their course, then there's a good chance that they actually know what they're doing in terms of the business model. Lastly, think about student results from a statistical standpoint. If someone has 10,000 students, they only need 0.1% of them to be extremely successful, to have a ton of good success stories that they can, use to promote their brand and promote their course. So if you see someone who's like a big guru and they have a ton of success stories, don't let this convince you, because again, it's just purely statistics. Lastly, look at how flexy they are, how genuine they seem, and just whether or not they're trying to flex the fact that they have wealth, or really just, explain to you how business models work, explain the effort that goes into them, and then let you make the decision on your own. I'm not going to call anyone out specifically because I prefer to stay in my own lane, but I'd rather give you guys the signs and then let you make your own decisions and, hopefully in the future not be scammed. I want you guys to share this video if you can with your friends so that they can all know how the live webinar model works, and hopefully they can stop falling for it too, and eventually maybe we can fix all these scammers and gurus and get them out of here so that people can actually learn legitimate business models and understand how much work goes into it. Just kidding, got you. But anyways guys, that's the end of the video, so remember to give some affection to that poor like button. Like I said, its dog just died. It's been in bed crying all day. It's been through like 3 boxes of tissues. So please, show it some support and affection. Also, make sure to subscribe, turn on post notifications, because like I said, I'm gonna be doing those giveaways as soon as I get this channel monetized. Make sure to follow me on TikTok and on Instagram, and I think that's about it. So I'll see you guys in the next one, and let's grow better together.
Bebé, dime por qué te mientes. No puedes esconder todo lo que tú por mí sientes.